Ladies and gentlemen, with no further delays, with no further delays,
No further delays.
we want no further delays. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the Sound Warriors. They call me Big Guy.
And I'm Brian Shartzer. What's going on, our people?
Hey, man, we're glad to be here. You know what? Every day is a good day, except over the last 2 weeks, we've had some pretty rough days. And we might as well talk about that right off the bat, and we'll finish with some good news too, right?
Absolutely.
You know, because you got to reach for good news no matter how tough it gets. And Brian and I both, for Brian longer than myself, but for a year, we've been going to Erik Nelson, who is, I would say, the top producer in the Midwest. Would you agree?
Oh, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we have to add the word was.
Yes.
We lost Erik last week, and it just absolutely devastating. I mean, what can we say, brother?
I'm still a loss. I mean, I've known Erik for 3 years now, man. I spent a lot of time with him in the studio, and he knew he had cancer,
Yeah,
but you know, I personally thought that we had more time with him.
I did too. And he was going down to my wellness doctor.
Yes.
Also, I mean,
And
he was getting
you hooked him
treatment.
up with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dr. Naputi down in St. Louis, one of the top doctors in the world for wellness, and he has. I think at the time he had 5 other people that had pancreatic cancer under his care, and he got Erik a little late. And that's I'm no cancer expert, but anytime you hear pancreatic cancer, you just immediately think the worst, and it generally is, right? I mean, just horrible. His beautiful wife, devastated, a huge family, devastated. And I got to tell you this, we all have friends and we all have people that support us. And, we all occasionally have detractors. I don't know anybody that's a detractor of his ever. Do you?
No.
I've never heard anybody speak a bad word about the guy. He was a teddy bear. In fact, he used to marvel, and I don't think you and I are marvelous. I don't mean it that way, but because you and I both are kind of how do you just we're instantaneous, whether you like it or not.
We are. Yes.
There's no filter. You and I are probably and I'm not saying he wasn't transparent, because he was, but he was quietly transparent. We're loud transparent.
Erik had a way of getting his point across to guide you.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if it was good or bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. His character in the studio.
He was in charge.
He was.
Yeah. He was soft, and then he could get tough. Yeah. But he was always a gentleman. He was always right on point. He knew he was spending your money. Do you know what I mean? And he respected that.
Oh,
so when
100%.
we got, we chat a little bit, but man, when the clock started ticking, he was working his tail off for you and giving you advice. And his advice, always good. And so, we probably each got a few stories, but I'm going to tell one real quick. And first of all, rest in peace, brother. We miss you already. I don't know what to say. We just miss you. I don't know how we're going to you're not replaceable. But, and I was saying he has thousands and thousands and thousands of friends that, just the tributes were unbelievable. But I got to tell you this story. I was in the studio and I was doing a song called Simple Plan. And he was trying to get me to do this one line. And, when you're singing in the studio, you might do a sing down and sing the whole song all the way through. And then you go back and hit parts, and, you got to get it shaped up. And he didn't like the way I was saying the word walking, because I get nervous when I'm in the booth. Yeah, I get nervous. I get nervous when I'm in the booth. I just get fired up. I'm fired up anyway. And he goes, "Where are you getting that?" he said, you sound like you're back in Chicago working the door and three guys are telling you they're coming in. And I said, well, I don't know. He
How you
goes,
talk.
yeah. He said, when I get going, I talk like old school. It's where I grew up. And he said, well, we're going to have to do it again. So I said, blah, 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 ain't no walking. He goes, not walking. I said, I'm not going to say walking. I'm not going to do that. And he goes, I didn't say that. He said, you just can't say walking. You're making the song mean. What's the song about? I said, well, I can tell you what it's about. I frickin' wrote it. He said, then tell me. So this is after 19 times of saying walking. He said, what's it about? Because we're doing one more take, and you're going to get it. And I know you're going to. What's the song about? I said, it's a love song about a guy who loved the girl in high school. They never really got it together. He still loves her. He's making another pass after they're out of high school. And, he goes, okay, I'm pressing the button. I like it. You're getting all sweet. Here comes the teddy bear. And it hit it.
Again, he knew how to channel you.
Right. Press your buttons.
Yeah.
He did the same with you.
Oh yeah.
Because you'd call me. You'd have a session and you'd go, big guy, it went so good. Eric is a genius. He had to add a couple different things in with how we were doing it. And then I asked him to add some of the dobro in the beginning. And, you guys were really a great collaboration.
It was a team. It
Yeah.
was a team. And I express that everywhere and anytime that I talk about music.
No doubt.
Being a team. I tell you, when Eric and I, this is one of the biggest things that I'm going to miss terribly. Every time that I had a session with him, he always had somebody in there before me anyway, because he was just always busy.
Yes.
And I'm talking, I personally seen like 3 big time, I don't want to call them R&B rappers or I really don't know that music genre, but they was touring. They was the label. They was it was big time.
He worked with Boys to Men.
Yeah.
Big names.
So, it's not like some Farmer Joe's nephew's grandson that was coming in that he was working with. He worked with everybody.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
So, so one of the biggest things that I'm going to miss about us is when we walked in, it was like, hey brother, what's going on? Even though I was on the clock and I was paying him, you know what I mean? That didn't matter to me. It's my money. I spend it how I want. Right. So I told him, I said, listen, I don't want to come in and just jump right into it. I want to come in, sit down, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just talk. Hey, Eric, how's it going? How's the family? Hey, Brian, what's going on? What's the plan? What's the direction? We just sat there and we collaborated. We just collaborated. We just talked about life.
He had a way of getting you in the mood. Getting you ready to go.
You could say that, yeah, I suppose. But I just him sitting in the chair with his monitor desk in front of him, just so relaxed and just our conversations. Then conversations I'll never get back. And and I was telling Vicky last night, one of the biggest things that I wish I would have done, I never got a picture of him and I together.
That's wild.
For 3 years, I never did that, and I delete everything. And you can ask me. I mean, text messages not. It's a military thing. You just delete it, delete. I still cannot delete all of our conversations off our text messages because I run back through them. I can still hear his voice. I can still hear our conversation.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I was his last client, and I'm not saying that as a badge of honor or whether it was sort of a curse in my heart. I don't know how to take it, but it was just timing. On July 18th, he passed on August 2nd, I believe. And on the 18th, I pulled into the parking lot in Bloomington. It's about an hour and some change drive from Springfield. And Kimmy, my ride or die babe. She's with me. Every time I go in the studio, she's there. She's there calming me down.
Well, she's a house mouse anyway. She's
Oh
so
yeah.
quiet.
She never says a word
Yeah.
except when I need to be calmed down. She'll just say, you got this. Just
Yeah.
get back in the flow. Anyway, so Erik pulls up, and I hadn't seen him in 2 months. Usually I was out there at least once a month. Hadn't seen him in 2 months, and he had really gone down. It's just unreal. I'd say, and this is just a guess, but I'd say his normal walking around weight back in the day was probably 190 pounds, somewhere in there, probably around 200. He wasn't heavy, but he's a pretty stout guy, really. And when he hopped out of the car, I would say he was probably 95, 100 pounds. And he looked horrible. And I knew he had really gone down. So Kimmy and I looked at each other, and I said, I'm sending him home. He, kind of belabored getting in the studio. We walked in together, and he started just sitting down, and he looked up like this. He was just looking up, and then he kind of looked back, and he was always more moving fast. He was moving slow. And I said, buddy, why don't you go home and rest? And he said, big guy, there's only a handful of people on the planet, the way I'm feeling right now, that I would come out and do this for. And he said, brother, you're one of them. Yep. So I said, go home. I appreciate that. He said, this song's a big song for you. And, because we had just done the Billy Don Burns song, and you had just done one from, one of the top writers in Nashville.
That's when I knew.
You don't get a chance like that often, that Brian and I both had, to have a guy release that song to you. Of course, Beverly Jenkins, our manager and promoter, is the same. We have the same manager and promoter for our record label and for our tracks. And anyway, she hooked all that up for both of us. And he said, this song, I was doing Born to Ride, which is my Lonesome 77203 was my first one with Billy Dunn. And it's now number 78 in the world. And he did it. I sang it. Billy Don wrote it. I told Billy Don when he complimented me on the track, I said, bro, it's your race car. I'm just driving it the weekend. He said, will you tell Erik? I said, thanks. He said, because it's one of the best produced pieces of music I've ever heard.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And big guy, you know how I feel about Nelson 77203. I told you it was a number
Teamwork.
one. It's just an amazing song.
Teamwork.
How it was written, how it was produced, Erik's abilities of doing everything and vocals too.
He did great on it.
Just a monster.
Yeah. So he said, so here's a guy that just in his worst moments of life. And he said, I said, let's just get you out of here. He said, well, you drove. I said, I could have driven from China. I don't care. I'm going to get back in the car. I'm going to head back to Springfield. You get some rest. This track will wait. This is music. We're talking about you. You just can't push yourself like this. He said, you want to know something, big guy? He said, this is my only way. That's of my family for me to continue. And he said, I want to do this. Don't stop me.
And what do you do?
Well,
what do you say?
I was going to monitor him. So we were monitoring him. He was having trouble picking up the guitar off the wall, just horrible stuff. And, I kept checking in with him, you're about done. He ended up, and here's the whole story. It's a little long. I'll try to make it faster. He put in 4 hours and said, you've got to sing this down before you go. And so I'm in the booth, and he had enough energy to slap me around some more. And he said, lay back like you did on Lonesome. Lay back. That part of your voice is selling. And that's what this needs. Lay back, get the emotion into it. I'm thinking, how could I be more emotional than I am right now? Going through, watching him.
Right.
And so we did all that. Anyway, he finally left. I paid him. It then said, what do you got left? About 3 hours or so. We took care of business side of things. And I'm just not worried about money. I'm not worried about the track. I'm worried about him. So I checked on him. And when I checked on him, he wrote back. This was the day after, or yeah, the day after. It took him a little while to get back to me. And he said, I had to go to ER last night and drain my stomach. His stomach was like, if this was flat, it was like this, sticking out. And he said, I had to have it drained. And I said, were you feeling better? He said, a lot of pressure off. Well, that night, unbeknownst to me, they drug him back into the hospital. And I don't believe, and I'm not trying to tell stories out of fable here because I haven't talked to his family directly, but I'm gathering from the timeline he never got back out of the hospital. He wrote me from the hospital. This is how much he cared. He wrote me from the hospital and said, big guy, wanted to get back with you, as if I deserve any contact with all this going on. And he said, I'm going to get out on Wednesday. And when I do, I'll finish up that track. You got to get that into the record label. And I said, I know. Well, next thing I know, I get a note that he had passed.
Well, yeah, and see, when we talked, you told me Erik was in the hospital.
Right.
So I immediately reached out to him. I said, "Hey, brother, just talked to the big guy. He said he was in the hospital. I said, listen, if you need anything, if the family needs anything, you need me to come mow your yard or the Eclipse Studio yard, whatever you need done. If your family needs, I'm here." And I and his reply back was, "Thanks, broski."
Yeah.
And
I know.
and that was the last text that I got. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
what
He became our brother.
he did.
Yeah.
When we was doing our last single, because every song that we did together, we split it. I made sure of that because Erik put his heart, he put his soul, and I couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah.
So we split everything 50-50, And so when we was in the studio that last time, that's when I knew, Erik, that song just touches your heart.
Oh,
it does. It pulls your heart. It could take you in so many ways.
Yeah.
So
it's deep.
When we finished the song, when we thought it was done, I looked over at Erik, and he was just, during the song creating here, he'd sit back, and I know he was thinking about the chords and structure and everything like that, but it almost like he was thinking about the song, reflecting on the song, And so when we got done, and I looked at him, I said, "Man, this song it just hits deep, Erik. It's a deep song. This song is going to go. This is going to be a number one."
That song just cut you up."
And he turned and he looked at me, and his exact words was, "If this song makes it to the gospel charts, it's going to be a number one."
Yep.
And I was like, "Yeah," you know what I mean?
Yep. He knows too. Like he told me when we were doing Simple or Satan and Satin, which, by the way, I'm thinking about changing the name of that song because Beverly, our manager and promoter, she knows everything, and she loved the song, I believe. And everyone that's ever listened to that song, you're the one that really got me going on that song.
I love that song.
Yeah. And you mentioned, that Creed Fisher had written a song, and I was out running around at Shields getting some tennis shoes. And you called me about 8:30 in the morning. You're just jacked up, and you're like, "Hey, big guy, let me tell you something here."
That's what music does, baby.
Yeah. Creed Fisher just dropped a new album. Have you heard it? And I said, "No, but I really like his stuff." And you said, "Well, listen to Devil in Boots, because it sounds like something you would write, and I think you ought to do a tune like that." So I went home, and in 30 minutes, not that that's a big deal, because some songwriters have written songs on a napkin in 7 minutes. So I'm behind the curve. But anyway, 30 minutes, I wrote My Satan and Satin. and Erik produced it. It was amazing. I got right in the studio within a week and had it done. I was just juiced for the. Well, anyway, the song has never been put out yet because I got blessed. My first two releases hit the charts, and you don't want to overchart yourself because, from what I understand, a DJ will look at your body of work and they go, "Well, I got 7 songs from Shartzer. I can't play them all today, so I'm going to play Country Roots." So you're sort of self-defining, and only one of your songs is probably going to go up the ladder. So I've got this song sitting here, and I was telling that to Erik a couple of times ago when I was in there, and he said, "You better release that song." He said, "I told you the minute we hit the last note on that song," he was pointing at me like this. He said, "What did I tell you, big guy?" And I said, "You looked at me. You've never said it before on any of my other stuff." And he said, "I didn't say it's not because they weren't good." But he said, "I told you that is a number 10 song. I guarantee it. And it could be a number 1 song. Your voice in that is, you found a part of your voice I've never heard."
Well,
And yeah,
Mark, seriously, and what is so cool about our time with Erik is I have 2 songs on the Cashbox charts, done very well. You have 2 songs on the Cashbox charts, doing very well. I got 7 other songs that Erik and I did
they're waiting.
that's waiting to be put on that list by Beverly and Cashbox. And so Erik's work is going to continue.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I've got 4 more.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And you've got 7 or 8 more.
Yes.
And again, I've listened to every one
and
of
this
yours.
is just us,
Right.
And our little portion
Right.
with Erik. You know what I mean? Just me and you.
Right.
Not counting all his other artists.
Which are immense. I mean, he's a Grammy Award nominee.
Yeah.
Speaking of nominees, Song of the Year nominee with the Josie Awards. Let's give him a round of applause.
And
Mr. Brian Shartzer.
I want to touch base on that too, because this is huge. Country, the Josie Music Awards, Country Roots. We was nominated, and when I say we, it's my team, and it's not about I, because I'm not about I.
Yeah.
My team.
You never are.
No, we got nominated for Country Song, and that is huge, huge. And September 20th, I'm going down to the Grand Ole Opry, and we're Vicky and I we're walking the red carpet, the photographs, everything, like we're the CMAs, baby. It's a big thing.
Well, that's something you dreamed of as a kid, being in a bar. Let's think about that song.
Yeah.
Being in a bar, right? Which you kind of grew up in a bar. And pressing that jukebox and playing those songs, they got into your soul. Right. And it just so happened that you had the pipes and you sing it. And I hope, here's the deal. In my mind, in everybody's mind, anyone who was nominated for Song of the Year has already won. You've already won.
Well,
now,
nice.
well, wait a minute. But if you happen to be chosen, as the final winner, you might as well just go ahead and open up the cash drawer, because that is a big, big deal. But just being nominated is
amazing.
One thing I got to do before we get off on talking about Erik, and again, our deepest sympathy to the family, friends, extended friends, and clients of Erik Nelson. I believe to be one of the finest producers, vocal coaches, and truly the finest musician I've ever met in my life. So I want to say that, and then I want one final plea, and I don't know how to get this done, Brian, and I don't want to overstep my bounds, but one of the things that I was going to do for Erik, knowing that he was close to finishing up his trip around the sun, Kim and I talked about this when we were doing Born to Ride, and which was the last song we did, right before he passed. I said, I'm going to dedicate this song to Erik and really make a big deal out of it for him.
Well, as you should.
Yeah.
I mean, if that comes from your heart.
Right.
If that comes from your heart, do it.
But there's one problem. The track for it is somewhere in his studio.
Well,
yeah. So maybe, I guess what I'm doing, I'll make my plea right now. If anyone is going through the tracks and the things there, and finds the Pro Tools work that Erik did on that track. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to do anything. I'm trying not to ask for a huge favor here. If you can get that, my record company has already said they would like to have it, and that they would finish it up, and then I would put my touch on it and talk about Erik and dedicate it to him. So do you think that's stepping out of bounds to ask for that?
I mean, time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I just want to put that out there. I really want to do a great job and and put Erik's name on that song.
Absolutely. In closing for me with Erik, and when I was getting to Country Roots being nominated for Country Song of the Year, if I can bring that award home for me and Erik for our song, man, that would mean the world to me.
Huge, huge, brother. Yeah, that was one of the best collaborations I've heard. Period. You guys I know how much time you spent on that song.
Well, he just meant everything to me, man. Because I when you go in and you take a song and you and you build it from scratch, nothing.
Yeah.
Lyrics, instrumental, everything. You gotta love a guy. You gotta love that person. And I've always said music comes from the heart and it comes from the soul.
It does.
And with Erik and I, we did that. We did that. And I'm gonna miss that so much. So
yeah,
I love you, brother.
Yeah, love you, Erik. And again, our deepest sympathy to the family, friends, and extended family that Erik did so much for. These thousands of people that weighed in and said their goodbyes.
Oh, the goodbyes was just, I mean, they put flowers at the studio. Yeah. All of the condolences and the love shout outs and the prayers from all his artists.
Yeah.
Was so touching, man.
Yeah. And he had them from all, there were times where he was, when he was really in the midst of it, one of the guys wrote to me and said, yeah, he used to watch the studio for Erik when he was flying to LA.
Wow.
Because he would go there and lay down the tracks for some of the bigger artists, and to New York. And he had this guy trained, and he would, run the studio. And he said Erik had a great way of breaking the tension, like if they were having a big, group in, and it was like, just getting static. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Erik could walk in and start disco dancing. And I can only imagine it because that's so not him.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, we wanted to do this tribute.
To show our love.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are the Sound Warriors. You may have heard some of our podcasts before. This one's a special one. This will always live out there. And if anybody ever wants to talk about Erik, we're open to talk about it and the beautiful, beautiful life that he had and the way he impacted both of us.
Oh, man.
And I know I can speak for you on that because you led me to him.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever was in the studio with him,
I told you.
You said, call me. I called you and I said, I don't know where this guy came from, but he's unbelievable.
I told you that this will be an addiction.
Yep.
For you, brother.
Yep, and it is.
And it is.
Prayers. Love you, Erik.